In those days, again, computing was very primitive. There was essentially nothing at Rockefeller. Now I'm back to crystallography because I meant to say this earlier. Because I wanted to mention Fred Dodge. Fred Dodge was, I don't know his positional title, but he was in the Hartline Ratliff lab doing neuroscience, and he was also a fellow at IBM. So he had an office and a space up at the Watson Research Labs up in Ossining. And we arranged to do some of our computing there, which was wonderful because Fred would drive me up in a car with mag tapes with our data on them, and I met in his office a man named Jim Cooley, a mathematician who was famous for being co-inventor of the Cooley-Tukey fast Fourier algorithm. And I had just written a Fourier program to do these summations for crystals in any of the 230 different symmetry groups that crystals can belong to. I was very happy to talk to Jim and learn that his fast method was really more important for much larger series, and for the number of terms in the series we were doing, it wouldn't have been much faster, so that was pleasing. But IBM didn't really want us around, so then we made an arrangement to compute at Princeton because I knew a professor there, Bob Langridge, who was doing early work on crystallographic computer graphics, which was just starting. So for some years, Joe Becker and I either took a bus, or later when Joe had a car, we drove to Princeton about twice a week, again with tapes and IBM punch cards, and computed on the IBM system there, which fortunately for us was turned off to the general users at midnight every night. It had been funded by the U.S. Weather Service, and from midnight to 4 a.m. they computed the weather forecast for the next day, and we went home. Still later, and around the time that I started working in neuroscience, we found that City University of New York had, again, an IBM-based computing center over on 12th Avenue. And by some skillful negotiations, Rockefeller temporarily became part of the CUNY system, so we could get accounts there and just carry our tapes across town instead of to Princeton. So that was much easier. And then at that time we could dial in with the 300 baud modems and do some editing online, and that was great. A little later, IBM gave us a grant to work on neuroscience, and part of that grant was a computer. This was installed in Smith Annex on the B level. It took up a whole room. It required an upraised floor. It required three-phase 220-volt power to run the 2 gigabit disk drives, which were whole cabinets in those days. I have to say this computer roughly had the power of an IBM AT personal computer, but it was very impressive. And in order to communicate with CUNY at a higher speed than dial-up, we literally rented wires from the phone company. So we had our own private wires from Rockefeller to the City University Computing Center at 9600 baud. So that's how we got work sent over there.